Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat.
We make these videos so that you can understand keto, low carb, basically living a better life. And Patrick finds interesting articles, videos, podcasts. We discuss them to try to help you guys to navigate the world of information that's out there on these topics. We want to make sure that you guys have the best mental health and
Mhm.
physical health to enjoy your life. So, what do we have today, Patrick?
Today we're going to talk about kids. Like in past videos, we already chatted about like our teens, how we try to bring them to like having a better health. And I did find an article that piqued my curiosity, and I thought we would discuss it today.
Okay, children.
So, children. It was an article from the Insider labeled titled "The Keto Diet is becoming more popular for kids, but nutritionists warn it can be incredibly risky for them." So let's see if real how risky it can be.
Okay,
So
I'm waiting to hear.
yeah. So the three starting points of the article. The trendy keto diet like encourages eating lots of fats, moderate protein, and fewer carbs. Proponents says it can help with weight loss by forcing the body to burn fat for energy. So I know what you're gonna say. It's not high. It's not like a lot of fat, moderate fat. But like second hypothesis, the keto trend has become so popular. Some parents are encouraging it for the whole family. How-tos for getting kids on the keto diet are popular online, and a cookbook, Keto Kids, was published this summer. So.
I think the thing that I want to point out just right away, listening to the beginning of this video,
Hmm.
this
This
article,
article.
is that I doubt that they're in favor of this. But the thing I'm going to say is,
Hmm.
and this is for every parent. You know, like I said, this is a channel about being healthy in
Mhm.
general. So this is for every parent. If I know that eating processed sugar is bad for me, why would I feed it to my kid?
Yeah.
If I know that over the course of years, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables cause damage to my body, why would I push that on my kids?
Hmm.
Right? Am I going to say you're never going to feed your kid a vegetable or a fruit? Of course not. They're not in the metabolic situation that adults are in because, first of all, they're still growing. So their bodies are actively seeking energy and using large amounts of energy compared to us. You know, one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that always amazes me, I used to work in a daycare. And when I would see the amount of food that a 3, 4-year-old kid could put away
Yeah.
sometimes, it would blow my mind. And then, like a few days later, you start to see, like, the kids in a growth spurt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when kids are in a growth spurt, like the food they're putting down, and then
Yeah.
the next month, few like months or two, that you see, like they just kind of an inch
Yeah.
happens, right? So our body knows what to do with what we give it. So
Mm.
I
Well, we.
think the thing that we make the I'm sorry, the
Mm.
thing we make the mistake of doing is we don't follow our kids' appetite.
Yeah.
If I'm feeding my children, and so I mean, I feel like my history allowed me to do this better than a lot of people because when I was a kid, I was force fed and I hated it.
Mm.
So I never force fed my daughter. If she wanted to eat, she ate. And if she didn't want to eat, she didn't eat. And guess what? There was never the story that I ever found where she ate nothing.
Mm.
She always ate some, and then you'd see she just wasn't hungry anymore, and she'd stop eating, and she'd go do something else. And my daughter didn't chase candy. My daughter didn't chase sweet things at all. So I feel like if we just follow our kids,
Mm-hmm.
we would do so much better at this. But we
Yeah.
think we're smarter than the human body, and we push foods on our kids because we are told it's better for them without any real,
Mm.
like, I mean, honestly, the evidence right now is playing out that all
Yeah.
of this carbs was not better for us. So
I was just about like to point out that we still cannot deny that the proportion of obese kids like we have nowadays compared to maybe 20 years to 30 years ago even like is way higher. It's much higher.
we have a lot of
So
obese
so the,
children. And
but
and
is
part
it
of the
like
problem is that we start them off on
yeah.
formula instead
Mm-hmm.
of breast milk. The fat ratio of formula is almost zero.
Mm.
The fat ratio of breast milk is much, much higher. It's like
Yeah.
50%, I believe. Like, again, we are doing things that are against our physiology, and then we're getting upset that we're overweight.
Mm.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, let me continue with the
What
this
I
the
like about
third
this
point.
article is I think that they're trying to help. I hope that they're trying to
Yeah.
help for us to get our kids on a better track. I'm just worried
Mm.
where they're going to take.
Yeah, no, no. The third hypothesis, okay, the third starting point of the article. However, nutritionist says, okay, nutritionists say it can be dangerous to put children and teens on such a restrictive diet, leading to nutritional deficiencies, disordered eating, and long-term health problems. So that's like
Okay,
had
so
to be
one thing
seen.
I'm going to add to that is that although my daughter was a healthy weight and is still a healthy weight, I have worked with people who have young people who their doctors have told them that their young people are overweight. And what's the first thing they tell them? They're eating too much fat, cut the fat out.
Mm.
So again, it's selective. When you're saying take sugar out, oh, it's a restrictive diet. But when you're saying take the fat out, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
The truth is, it's reverse.
Yeah.
Taking the sugar out is healthy. Taking the fat out ends up causing so many problems because you
Yeah.
have to have sugar there. It's the only other fuel source,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, protein is not a fuel source, it's a building block. We have to keep that in mind. So again, I'm just pointing that out because I feel like I'm always
Mm.
frustrated when I hear that
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
It's
Thing is not
restrictive.
something. It's not something that taking the fat out isn't gonna. It's not something you're gonna see like in 2 years, in 3 years with those teens. It's probably gonna take like us, like maybe 30 years of eating that way to get into some kind of metabolic
No, I'm talking about
problems
no, I'm
and.
talking about when I have people in my office who have a 7-year-old that weighs over a
Oh
hundred
yeah. Okay.
pounds, and the doctor is telling them stop giving the kid so much
Oh
fat.
yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. That's not what's
Mm.
making this child overweight.
No.
It's
No.
all
Yeah.
the, I mean, yes, they're telling them not to eat chips and candy and whatever, but they're
And
also putting
McDonald's.
them on a
Yeah.
fat restricted diet,
Mm.
not understanding that it's not the fat that's causing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this kid is still being loaded up with potatoes and carrots and onions in their food.
And probably worse. Yeah.
But I'm just talking about the foods
Mm.
that are healthy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Quote
LT.
unquote
Yeah.
healthy. It's okay for them to have mashed potatoes, but they can't have a chocolate bar.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, so interesting fact, well, I think they said it in the opening hypothesis, but the search term keto for kids, like it's an all-time high for Google in last January of last year. I'm not sure,
Oh, I
probably
just
like
found out what I'm
January.
labeling this video.
So keto for kids, yeah. So I did find it interesting. So I think parents are becoming maybe more aware and interested to better feed or at least like have kids that are in better health.
And that should
Um,
always be our goal.
yeah, always.
Like
Yeah, totally.
I'm happy to
Yeah,
hear that that's what's happening.
yeah, yeah. So, like right off the bat, like kids and teens have different nutritional needs than adults. Like we just like said that, and registered dietitians, like we know like about those, warn that it's generally not recommended for them talking about the keto. Limiting carbs can not only deprive kids of necessary nutrients, but also increase risk of eating disorders. So,
Okay,
like you
here's the
have both.
interesting thing. And
There's no like.
again, I'm going to just say that conversations that I've had with parents in my office and even conversations that I had when I was working at the daycare. So balancing this out because I remember talking to parents in the daycare and myself being concerned and just talking to them about the fact that, kid doesn't really eat lunch. Like the kid would like if we give them pasta with meat and whether only thing leaving the plate is the pasta. If we give them rice and both, only thing leaving the plate is the rice.
Mm,
And just suggesting to them maybe talk to their pediatrician. Is this okay? I remember having a conversation with someone who was telling me that in their home they try to eat really healthy, but in the other parent's home the kid could get away with having ice cream for supper. The kid could get
mm,
away if they wanted to just eat junk food all day while they're at the other parent, it was no problem. And having
mm,
pediatricians say that's not really going to do anything right now. They're growing.
yeah, it's not,
But what about the building blocks
yeah.
that you're using to make your body? Why don't we think that this is important? If I'm building my body on cookies and ice cream
Mm,
half the time, is that really great? Is
yep.
is that is that not pushing me towards an insulin resistance situation? Even if I'm a kid, I mean, there's only so much of that you can do
Mm-hmm.
if it's your meal, right? Am I saying that I'm gonna freak out if one day my kid only had ice cream and that's all they ate for the no, because it's one day. But if it's a repeated thing that's happening all the time, you need to start to ask yourself what kind of first of all, what kind of healthy food relationship are you teaching your child to have? Is that really a healthy food relationship? But also, what are the building blocks that this child, young person, eventually young adult, eventually adult,
Yeah.
is going to have to build their body? Are they going to have the strength, the flexibility, the joint strength and positives to be able
Yeah.
to live their life to 80, 90, 100, 110 maybe, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting older and older as we move forward. We want our bodies to last us as long as medical science is able to push us forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah. Um, Another like point of that author, like I think she's talking about like the keto flu at some point, and say like and basically saying, can you imagine like a kid in school with keto flu? But like more talking about like keto flu is something like permanent with keto people. Like it's gonna last like a couple days. I don't know like how long it can last in a teen or a young like a young
So here's the
kid.
funny
But
thing
like
about a kid doing keto, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if my child, so go back in time when my kid would have been, you know, 4, because that's when she started eating candy. So let's
mm,
say back then, if I would have never pushed this idea that she could have candy, she would have lived her entire life
mm,
not having any candy from mom.
mhm,
She would have probably still been able to have candy at grandma's. Okay. She probably would have still been able to have candy. She went to a friend's house, because I doubt I would have said, you're never allowed to have. I just wouldn't have bought it from my house,
mm,
because that's not the way that we eat. Right now, maybe there would have been some certain rules about certain things, because I didn't allow soda, whether it was my house or my mom's house,
yeah.
or, right? I did allow soda. That was a different story. But a candy here or there, like, but why was I able to do that? She didn't like candy,
Mm-hmm.
right? It
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal. I think the thing that's really interesting is that if you start your kid off like this, their palate is going to suit whatever you've been eating. Again, I referenced Asia. The people in Asia find things delicious that we taste and go, really? And vice versa. When they
Mm-hmm.
come here, they're like, really? Right? So why do we think it would be different for our kids? If they were just raised eating this way, they just eat
Yeah.
that way. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is that, again, flexibility. Young people are growing.
Yeah.
So even if they went to grandma's, like my daughter does, my daughter goes to grandma's and she'll have rice or pasta or whatever. Interestingly enough, I notice she's finishing less and less and less of it,
Mm-hmm.
because her tastes are changing,
Yeah.
right? And she'd much rather eat the vegetables, and the vegetables that they are eating are not even sweet vegetables, because it's not potatoes, it's broccoli and
Mm-hmm.
cauliflower and so she doesn't like cabbage,
Yeah.
but
The broccoli and
bean
cauliflower she does.
sprouts, and
Yeah.
she'd much rather eat those things. Her tastes are changing.
Mm-hmm.
We're so worried
Yeah.
that that they're gonna have. I mean, they're not gonna have keto flu. So the only way that you'd actually have repeated bouts of keto flu is
I
if you
should go in
keep
and
allowing
out.
yourself
Mm.
to come out of ketosis and jump
Yeah.
back in. But here's the interesting thing. I think that for the majority of adults doing keto and having a ketogenic style household, we're still not pushing our kids to be full
No.
keto. They're more likely doing low carb,
Yeah.
right? Because first of all, their bodies are growing. They're going to use
Mm.
the energy very quickly. But second of all, like, although I will say, if your kid wants to be keto and is eating keto and is happy to do it, do it. You have to keep in mind, you
Mm.
eat the sugar affects you. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're thin. You eat
Mm.
the sugar affects you. So, in all fairness, when my daughter tells me, like she did yesterday, that I just want meat for supper, I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not mad,
but
because when you eat the sugar affects you.
but I'm happy you bring this up, because like the next paragraph is talking about brain development. You know, brain like still favors carbs instead of fat
No, we
for
don't know that.
for
Actually, what we
but
know is that the brain has small amount of parts of it, so a few parts of it that favor carbs.
mm,
Your whole brain, the majority of it actually runs very well on ketones.
ketones. Okay.
Think Alzheimer's. That's why people who have
Mm,
Alzheimer's, when you feed them ketones, actually come back and
mm-hmm.
can be with us again. It's because their brain actually can function on those ketones,
Okay. So
which
we
is
don't.
a nice thing for people to know if you have
So
someone in your life that has Alzheimer's.
yeah. And we know that like our body can make the carbs we need, so
Yeah,
there's no really issues even for a teen in full development
yeah. That's the other thing. Yeah,
that doesn't want to eat like carbs. So
if
there's
your
no
if your
like
kid wanted to be
we won't force
carnivore,
them.
yeah, if your kid wanted to be carnivore, their
Mm,
body will still produce carbohydrates for their brain, for their blood cells. Because that's the other thing that, it's amazing to me. People are so worried about our brain, but your blood cells,
mm,
right? Like, it's important that everything that needs sugar needs to have the sugar,
mhm.
right? But we keep ignoring the fact that we make it.
Yeah. Okay, what about like vitamin B vitamins, folate, potassium, magnesium? Like seems to say here that it's all things that we would find in legumes, in sweet potatoes, fruits, like vegetables, starchy stuff.
First of all, the idea that we get no vitamins from meat is false because animals eat vegetation. So I'm starting there. But the other thing I'm going to point out is when you're doing a ketogenic lifestyle, you still eat vegetation. I really,
Mm, yeah,
I find it so frustrating that people keep confusing keto and carnivore.
yeah,
They're two different things. And even when you do carnivore, you still get the vitamins and minerals that you
yeah.
need because the animals are eating those things, right? Would I acknowledge that if you're doing carnivore, it's even more important for you to eat animals that were pasture raised? Yes, because you want them to have eaten the right foods before they were slaughtered. And the other thing I'm going to point out is that if you're doing carnivore, you would want to make sure that you're eating nose to tail, right? You want to get the brain, you want to eat all the pieces of the puzzle to make sure that you're getting all the things that you need. We're not doing that. We're doing
Mm,
keto and low carb, right? And if you're doing this with your kid, chances are you're going to be doing keto and low carb. So, but even if you were doing carnivore, all it means is that you need to be giving that kid liver, giving that kid brain, giving that kid kidney. Like,
mm,
like the truth is, again, like I said,
yeah.
if you've been doing this since the child was born, they're used to it. It's not going to be
Yeah,
a big
it's the only
deal.
thing that they know actually.
Yeah, it's going to be what they know.
So okay. Okay, but the next, like, actually, I'm not gonna go into details, but like, if you're concerned about your child or teen obesity,
Obesity, okay?
then in maybe like we're not promoting keto for kids or teen. Like I think that's pretty clear. But like, what would be the best way or the good way to do it if you're concerned? I know the answer,
About your
but like
child's weight?
your child's weight.
Honestly,
So stop feeding them
here's what I
crap.
find funny because I agree with you. I'm
Mm,
not pushing anybody to push kids to be keto per se because they're growing and they're going to use the energy. Like I said, they're
mm,
still eating the carbs. So, yes, it's affecting them. However, I'm so much more worried about young people having processed carbs than
mm,
vegetation carbs because I think that if the only thing your kid is eating is vegetation carbs, the chance that they're going to overeat those, especially if you're giving them above the ground, it's really
so high.
hard. Sure, we can do it with potatoes. Sure, we can do it with carrots
Hmm.
and onions and those root vegetables. But
But
at the same time, now it's about teaching your child to be moderate in how many times a week they let themselves have potatoes
mhm,
or carrots, right? And I feel like this goes back to teaching my kid good practices regarding food
yeah,
so that they can learn to be independent in their food later,
yeah,
right? Obviously, I want my kid to grow up to be an adult who makes good choices, right? And we're already seeing it. We
mm.
take our
Oh
kids
yeah,
out to the restaurant and they have the option of salad or fries.
nice.
And it's amazing to us how much times they pick the
They pick the
salad.
salad. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I'll even give them credit that before we started doing this, they would sometimes pick the
Mm,
salad, right? Or want both.
mhm, yeah.
I remember the times when they wanted both. It's, can we
Hmm.
have the salad and
And then,
get a fries for the middle of the table, which was fine, right? But at least they
mm,
were having the salad. So yeah, it's about
uh,
teaching them
yeah.
healthy ways of eating. I do believe that if you force feed your kids or you force restrict your kids, that's more the time where you're going to end up with a kid with some kind of eating disorder than when you allow them to eat to satiety and then encourage healthy eating in your
Yeah.
home. And if you've been encouraging healthy eating in your home from the beginning, you're going to have less problems with that.
Mm,
If you were one of those families that had soda, chips, cookies, and all that stuff early in their lives, well, now we're dealing with the repercussions of
Mhm.
that, right? But you need to take responsibility for that too, because I'm guessing if you had soda, cookies, chips in their lives, that because it was in your life.
Mm.
You want them to take it out of their life? Guess what you need to do? You need to take it out of your life,
Mm.
right? Our kids do what we do.
Totally.
Stop
And
pretending that they do what we
mhm.
say. They do what we do. So if you are showing them the good example of eating healthy and not cheating on your diet, they will learn to eat healthy and not cheat on their diet.
Yeah, definitely can we can say that without even pushing keto. We never like pushed keto on them, but like yeah, you're right. They're making better choices. My son the other day was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna have that and that for dessert because that was like that has a lot of sugar already." So, like in restaurant, like you said, he's like preferring the Caesar salad like instead of the fries with the burger. So and to be honest, like in one of my kids, like just because I still cook for them, but just making smarter choices, like removing the rice, replacing with vegetables, removing like not having pasta as often. We saw a drop in Gabriel, like in weight, like an amazing drop
Yeah.
in his waistline. So a combination of factors with your family, not necessarily pushing keto on them, can make a huge difference. Like get
And
rid of the pizza, the fries all the time, the pasta all the time. Bring them like more meat, more vegetables, and we'll see
and I
a good
also
difference.
want to add to that too. I think the fact that my daughter sees me every once in a while doing a fast day,
Hmm.
actually today's going to be one of those. So the fact that she sees me do that every once in a while, I feel like the other thing that it's allowed is that every once in a while she'll choose to do a low carb day, and she'll come and tell me, "Oh, today I'm doing a low carb day,"
Hmm.
and she'll like try to keep her number under 120, and she has a little app and she checks and she makes sure it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm eating this and this, and she doesn't do it all the time, but she's very conscious of the fact that sugar is in things,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And that she should probably know how much sugar is in what she's eating.
Hmm.
So again, like both of our kids have had scenarios where all three of our kids have had scenarios where us being healthier has helped them to either think and live healthier in the case of Kyler and Jacob, or just we see the results in
Hmm.
Gabriel, right? Because of the choices we're making for him,
Yeah.
right? So it's great. And I'm encouraging all of you, if you allow yourself to eat healthier and show the good example, your kids are going to see, first of all, the energy you have. They're going
Hmm.
to see the weight that you possibly lose if you had some weight to lose, and they're going to see that your mood is going to improve. Because the other thing is, like, it's so
Yeah.
nice to be able to do what you want to do, to be have your hormones be leveled out and stable. It's amazing the impact it has on just how you feel physically and emotionally. And I do feel that when we allow ourselves to eat well, then we get all the benefits. I'm going to say this out loud because I feel like a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I did keto, but I didn't get the result." So, going back to the whole thing of the keto flu being an ongoing idea, if you are doing keto, not doing keto, doing keto, not doing keto, doing keto, not, you are not going to get the mental health benefits because your hormones need to stabilize for you to get that part. So if you're on, off, on, off, and then like don't blame that on keto. That's you
Hmm.
not doing what you're supposed to do to get the benefits that you could get from eating properly. And it frustrates me when I see people say that, oh, but I didn't get any mental health benefits or any mental clarity. It's probably because you weren't sticking to it,
Hmm.
right? So I just want to say that out loud.
And maybe what about but doing what we just like said, there's no worries really to have about eating disorder or stuff like that with our kids,
So
right?
if
Because
our
like they're
household is eating healthy, and this is, basically regardless of what kind of healthy you're eating. So insert keto, insert low carb, insert paleo,
hmm,
insert vegetarian, insert, like, no matter what kind of healthy you're doing,
hmm,
if you do that within your home and that's the expectations within your home, according to them, then my kid
yeah,
walks out the door going to have an eating disorder. No, it
hmm,
doesn't work like that.
no,
You're teaching your
yeah,
child something the same way that you teach them it's not good to steal, the same
hmm,
way that you teach them that it's not good to hit people. And the expectation is they're going to go out there and live their life and they're going to make the
yeah,
best possible choice. If your child is having an eating disorder, first and foremost, that's usually not about food. That's usually about self-esteem. That's usually about social pressure. That's usually about bullying and or negative things happening within the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your kid has an eating disorder, you need to be looking wider than what food did we feed them. Because eating disorders are not about the food. It's how the bad thing in their life is playing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, we want to give them the tools to when they don't eat at home to choose a salad or to choose something healthy instead of the fries and sauce and pizza and burgers and McDonald's and
But it's the flip side of the coin is you're also giving them the knowledge that eating healthy is about building your body well into the future. And I say this all the time because I really do believe in it. And so, you know, on the one occasion every 4 months that I'm going to decide to have some kind of cake or some kind of maybe I'm going to decide to buy some nuts and have some nuts in the house for a week, or like on the one occasion every few months that I decide to do that, I'm taking a conscious decision that yes, for this little bit of time I'm not eating healthy. It's a conscious decision. You want your kids to know if I choose to eat that, I'm taking a conscious decision right now that right now I'm fueling myself with something that's not healthy. Now, here's the thing. If I know that it's not healthy, how often am I going to do that to myself? Right? I think the thing that puts people in trouble is pretending like it doesn't matter. Oh, it's just one time, it doesn't matter. But then that one time that would have been every 4 months if I thought it mattered becomes once a
once a
week,
week.
right? Because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it matters,
Hmm.
right? That's why the frequency of the times that you do something like that, you need to pay attention to. Like I said, I'm never going to say never have a cookie ever again or never eat ice cream ever again because I think that's unrealistic,
Mhm.
right? Do I see myself doing that anytime in the near future? No. But that's me,
Mhm.
right? I can't say that because that's the way I'm living my life that you have to do that. Can I say that I see myself in the near future probably having some nuts? Because that still falls inside the keto way of life, but higher on the carb count, so I don't do it all the time. Yeah, I see myself doing that, right? Would I do it every week? No, I've tried that. It doesn't
It doesn't
work,
work.
right?
They're pretty
So,
addictive.
but this is the
Damn
point,
nuts.
right? Like, are
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to be honest
Hmm.
with ourselves about what food does to us and our kids, right? Because the same way that as an adult, when I was at a party and my little munchkin was circling around, I made sure I didn't have more than 2 drinks so that she could see that mommy always stays in control. So that she could grow to be a person that understands that, yes, you always stay in control of your alcohol. Why am I not doing that with food? Right? It's just logical.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so this is the thing. And as a matter of fact, today I had to cut it back to 1 drink because keto and bang, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's
Yeah,
like
it's true.
you have to again, what am I showing her?
Yeah.
Pay attention, understand your body, react to your body, not to the social that says, "Oh, you
Hmm.
can have 4 drinks." No. If I have 1.5,
Yeah.
right? So I have to know that, right? And when she's there, I have to show her that,
Mm.
right? So it's important. Like I really feel like keto for kids can
Yeah.
definitely work, you
Can
know.
work.
But
Don't
but
push
do I
it.
think it has to be keto for kids? I don't
Yeah.
believe that either.
I think there's a progressive
Diminishing of
yeah,
carbs
diminishing
over
like
time.
the sweet and the sugars and like bring them
Okay,
to eat healthier.
good point.
Don't push keto right off the bat to the kids.
Well,
I
it
don't think
okay,
it's
no. Here's the
necessary.
thing. That's the difference.
Mm.
If you are pregnant,
Oh.
keto right away, right? Like you go there right away. You feed them to suit the situation that you're living. So going in with this like not restrictive, but just vegetables that are above the ground that you know that they can eat a large amount of those without pushing themselves over, and maybe trying your best to limit potatoes, carrots, onions, and all those
Mm.
below the ground things. If I was doing it over, that's what I would
Mm.
do. And I wouldn't, and it's not even limited because she didn't want it. That's the
Yeah.
part that drives me nuts. She didn't want it. I just listen to your kid. If you put things in their mouth and they go, "Ugh," it's
Yeah.
because it's too sweet. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like I did that to my daughter. I'm so unhappy with myself that I did that to her because now she does enjoy sweet.
Mm.
Although she's learning that it's not the best thing in the world, she does enjoy it.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is if you're pregnant or your kids are still young enough that they haven't really indulged in a lot of sweet, I would start right away. But if you have children who eat the typical standard American diet, standard Canadian diet, then what I would suggest to you is just slowly, slowly diminish the amount of junk food you have in your house. And the way that I would suggest doing it is every time you go to the groceries, instead of buying all the things, the kids have to pick something. What are we having this week? Is it cookies? Is it ice cream? Is it chips? Pick something, right? If each kid picks a different thing, then that's your thing for the week. That's your thing for the week. You don't eat each other's thing.
Hmm.
And just let them pick something. I feel like over time they're just going to get used to that. Yeah, the junk food isn't the thing, right? But you have to show them, and you have to be willing, maybe to put up with a little bit of a "Hey, mommy, mommy" in the store,
Hmm.
right? But I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. That's our job,
Hmm.
right? Our job is to do what's better for them, not to do what's going to not let them cry,
Hmm.
right? Our job is to do what's better for them. So I definitely think you can do that. And if you're talking teens, I would live by example. Just do it. Let them know what you're doing, but don't force it. I would definitely, though, make my suppers my suppers. I never cook separate meals, and I will not cook separate meals today. Um, and that's always been my throughout my daughter's life. That was just, if mom's cooking, this is what I'm making. You don't like it, you're not eating today. And I've never wavered on that. And she did always the same thing. She's hungry. She ate until she didn't want anymore. So whether it was an amazing meal that she ate the whole thing because she just liked it, or whether it was a meal she was like, and she ate enough to be, not crying
Okay.
tonight.
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
but it never killed her that because I put
Oh.
something on the table that she didn't like. This is a really interesting article.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to
Welcome.
thank everyone for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. If you are new here, consider subscribing. And for all my wellness warriors, always happy to have you back. I want to let you guys know that there's now 2 ways to contribute to the production of videos. In the description, you're going to see that I have a bunch of Amazon links with different countries. You can easily take one of those links, put it on your desktop, label it Amazon, and every time you click on that to do your Amazon shopping, I get a small commission. It helps the production of videos. Or you can go to my Patreon.com/Violet Rivera, where you can see all the information about making a contribution. I really love making these videos for you guys. Can't wait
See.
to talk to you next
See
time.
you next time.